Welcome into the Divas Dish. I am Sheri Taylor, the afternoon drive diva of Magic 98.9. And also, I have with me someone that has been in politics, a lawyer. You might call him a diva, but if you meet him and read his book, we're going to talk about, you would not call him a diva at all. You would just call him your best friend that's written a book that you want. You definitely want to get this book. I'm talking to Ric Keller. How are you, Ric?
Good to be with you, Sheri. So you said I'm a lawyer and a politician. My mom would say, "What about used car salesman? Just check all the box, buddy." And if we're gonna go with the untrustworthy occupations.
But you know what? Actually, you actually don't fit the mold of all those, because when someone says they're a lawyer, you if you don't see it, you hear the eye roll, or if you say politician, people are like, "Oh my goodness." But you have some sound advice. Let's talk about how you got into politics, how you went from being a lawyer, how you decided to be a lawyer, and your humble beginnings. I love that in the book. I feel like I know you from reading the book and your common sense. So let's start from the beginning.
So how I got into politics, a very unconventional way. I just graduated from Vanderbilt Law School, and there was this young guy running for governor, Jeb Bush, who never ran for office before in his late 30s. And he'd given a speech that was okay, but I thought he needed to connect a little better. So I wrote a little line on the back of my business card and handed it to him. And he used that line to open up every single speech throughout Florida. That became a part of his stump speech. And the line was, "One of my opponents has accused me of running on my father's coattails. Well, to show that I'm running on my own merits, I've decided to change my last name. I don't know what I'm changing it to yet, but it's either going to be Reagan or Eisenhower." And that helped him connect with people. Eventually, he got elected governor. And then when there was an open seat his first year in office, I ran for Congress and also used self-deprecating humor. And I was made fun of because I was the only one that didn't have any political experience. And the other people were super qualified and had 8 years. And one of them in a debate called me an amateur. And it was like you could hear a pen drop, like, "Ooh, what's he going to say?" And I said, "I am an amateur, but you know what? It was amateurs who built Noah's Ark and professionals who built the Titanic. And what boat do you guys want to be on?"
Wow.
And and I didn't hear about that anymore. And then I got a lucky break. I won some competition that was sort of like an American Idol for politicians, and they ranked me number one in the country and spent $400,000 to support me. And a few months later, against all odds, I won a seat in Congress.
Absolutely. It's wonderful. And that's in the book too. So I wanted to hear your take on it. And I love that you mentioned Jeb Bush. I actually, when the primaries were around 2016, maybe late 2015, I got to meet him. He came through here and he was such a nice gentleman. So yeah, good guy.
Awesome.
But yeah, he just didn't have, I guess, what everybody was expecting from his brother and his father, but he's his own man. And I like that about him. So
Absolutely. Good guy. They're all good. They're all super. That whole family is nice.
oh yeah, good family. And you got to talk to Mama in the book here too. So we're going to talk about that. So
Yes,
let's
absolutely.
let's talk about. I mean, everybody is sharing memes, and they're sharing things that other people have written or that they've heard, or wisdom that's been passed down. They put their own brand on it. You actually put it all in a book, and these aren't memes that you're sharing. These are life facts and life lessons that you can take with you. And I love at the end of every chapter you have takeaways. Let's talk about your book.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I didn't meet my dad until I was 14 years old for the first time. And that first meeting, he handed me this paperback book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And I read it 6 times. And by the time I was ready to graduate from high school 3 years later, I was finally in position. I could call him dad, and I was going to do an experiment with the formula in this book. And I set a goal to graduate first in my class at East Tennessee State. And that happened. Then I set a goal to get elected to Congress, and that happened. And as I was older, I thought, I really don't care about getting the trophies or making hundreds of thousands of dollars or titles at this point in my life. What really gives me joy is if I can help other people get the trophies, if I can help young people lift them up and bring people together. And so I wrote this book selfishly because that's what gives me joy. And I wanted to make a change in people's lives, just like that book changed my life. And so that's kind of the origin of why I wrote it.
I love it. I love it. And I love also in the book, it's like you'll find things that you want to go back to. Feel free to underline, feel free to highlight, which I love. I dog my mom. My mom's a retired teacher. I come from a family of educators. I'm the one that always got in trouble talking in school. So now I'm in broadcasting. That's
Awesome.
that's my life story. But my mom was always like, don't dog ear that page. Don't write in that book. There are so many books that I have from childhood that have my name on it and scribbling all over it. And I guess notations that I even wanted to make it like 2 and 3 in a book. So I've got your book kind of dog-eared, if that's okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I do the same thing, same style. And I did
I
an
love it.
audiobook too for the people who aren't readers. And it's kind of funny because they'd made me audition for the part of Ric Keller. So I had to make sure that I was a better Ric Keller than their actor, Ric Keller. So anyway, I got the part playing myself, and the audiobook's out too.
I love that. I love that. I am Ric Keller. With the real Ric Kellers, please stand up.
That's right. Like Slim Shady.
I love it. I love it. Which, by the way, we do play. So yeah, if you're ever through here, you need to check us out. And you told me that you actually would be back at your alma mater this in the next 2 days or tomorrow.
Yes, I'm going back there tomorrow, and it really is freaky because it brings me back to September of 1986 when I was there, and if you were there with me on that day, you would see three things. You'd see me sitting in the classroom as a senior. You'd see this freshman walking around campus named Kenny Chesney, and there's a new TV show on the air for the first time called The Oprah Winfrey Show, and so kind of cool that Kenny took over the country world and Oprah took over TV. And my claim to fame this week, at least, is I took out the trash twice without my wife yelling at me, which is the first time in history that's happened. So all equally successful, you know. So I'm going back there to talk a little bit about my book and about my life. The school's been there for 111 years. I happen to be the first graduate in their history to get elected to Congress. So trying to give them a little insight how it happened for me and more importantly, how things could happen for them.
I love it. I love it. And you know what? Your next book, work on how to do what your wife asked you politely.
That's right. That's right.
So you don't get yelled at. You know, if you could come and like write a book or even like just do a little blurb, I can show my 15-year-old and my 11-year-old son. That would help too.
Yes, that's funny.
It's always like, Mom. I'm like, really? So
that's funny. I'd say those are tough ages. I have them same age, so I think they get a little less smart aleck, you know, as they get a little older, you know, that 13 to 15 range, they know everything. And then I get a little smarter once they get to be 18 or 19 in their brain, I think.
Exactly. Well, no, I get it. I get it. My 15-year-old's starting to get at that edge of mellowing out. Now the 11-year-old's coming in right behind him. And I will tell you, I tell my mom all this all the time, that I was like, Mom, I used to think you knew nothing. You know everything,
That's
everything.
funny.
And my dad, who passed in November, I'd always say, no, I know. And Dad's like, no, you don't know. You don't know. You don't know. And that was one of the last things I got to say to him before he passed, that, Dad, you were right. I don't know. I am my age now and I don't know. So yeah. So
that's sweet.
It takes a while. It takes a while for all of us to realize how smart and how much wisdom our parents have. So tell your kids that Dad does have a lot of wisdom. So and tell them you heard that from a diva. So if a diva says you've got wisdom.
I will. My kids are non-believers. You know, I was going down the highway and two of my kids in the back seat said, Dad, why did you rob a Wendy's? And why'd you rob Pizza Hut? And why'd you rob KFC? And the other one was like, yeah, how long were you in prison anyway? And I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? And they said, well, we know everything. We saw it on YouTube. It said, call Congressman Keller and ask him why he took money from Wendy's and Burger King and McDonald's. And I said, girls, that's not me robbing them. That's them giving a contribution to my campaign. And they didn't believe it. Like, sure it is, Dad. Sure. You know, you sound just like a politician. We don't trust you. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
There's your teenagers.
Exactly. After a while, you can't say that. They can't say that. Right. Dad does know some stuff. Dad's got it in a book. Dad's published. So once they get published, maybe they can counteract that. You never know. So Tell us about your book, how long it took you to write it, get it together, and where we can find it. I know we can find it on Amazon and some other places, but where can we find you if we'd like to come see you for a book reading or a book signing?
So the gist of the book is about becoming the best version of yourself by using your gifts and taking chances that are aligned with your purpose. And there are a lot of inspirational stories in the book, but that's not what makes it different. What makes it different is that it gives you the how-to. It gives you a specific step-by-step formula of how to take your thoughts and dreams and convert them into reality. And that's what makes it special. And that first time in 85 years that's happened. And I hammer that home in every single chapter because I want folks to know, like, this is a big deal. You really can achieve your dreams if you use this step-by-step formula, because I'm not an extraordinary person. I'm ordinary. And if it can happen for me and happen for Jim Carrey and Dolly Parton and all these other folks who've used this formula, it can happen for you too. To get the book, you can get it from rickeller.net, or it's available at Amazon or anywhere books are sold.
Absolutely. And we'll have those links up on the website for us. And the beautiful thing is we are Magic out of Greenville, but we're part of Odyssey, which has 200 stations across the nation. We also broadcast to our Odyssey app all over the country. We have the podcasts, which go all over the place. And we have the content that goes throughout all of our networks and gets published elsewhere. So I'm sure everyone's going to see this. Let me highly recommend Chase the Bears. Wonderful book. And let's talk about the title. Before I let you go, let's talk about the title and why Chase the Bears. Of course, you say it in the book, but just kind of in our area, as I mentioned off air, that we do have the Bear Shadow Festival, which is not too far from us, up into the North Carolina mountains in that area. Let's talk about the Shadow of the Bear.
Yeah, so the Shadow of the Bear is out right now. It's the only time it's out from mid-October to early November, and it's miraculous. It's at Whiteside Mountain, just outside Cashiers. It's the only place in the world where the bear shadow comes out at about 5:30 at night, usually for about a half hour. It then goes into hibernation and comes out a little bit of time in March, but it is such a natural phenomenon. And I put it on the cover because it's consistent with my message, is that there are opportunities in life, but you got to take them when they're there, man. And Chase the Bears is a metaphor for chasing your dreams. And so you got that little window and you got to take advantage of it. And so when I saw the story of Chase the Bears, I'm like, oh my God, that's my whole theme. I've got to have that on the cover. And as it turns out, a buddy of mine who's a great photographer visited Western North Carolina and happened to get a picture of it. And I said, can I use that picture? And he said, yeah. And so he gave me the license to use it for free. And that's his picture on the cover.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yes.
And you should drop somehow on your website how they can get in touch with him if he's actually doing professional photography, because that is a perfect picture. And it actually, because when we say the bear shadow around here, because in March, as you mentioned, there is that little brief window. We do have the Bear Shadow Festival, because if you've ever been to Cashiers this time around this year, it's too cold to do an outdoor festival. I'll tell you that. It's a little breezy.
Yes.
But we have that in March, the Bear Shadow Festival, but it is something to behold, to see. And of course, like you said, you've got that tiny window of time. So when a door opens up, what you're saying is to go for it, correct?
Go for it. This is not practice, man. This is life. And to me, the most important thing for people to do, just like you use your gifts every day on the radio and Larry King did and Oprah Winfrey, people need to use their gifts. It's the thing that comes easy for them, but it's hard for other people, that they love doing and they have a natural skill at and they would do for free. Whatever that thing is, do that thing.
Perfect. Do it. I love that. And we're going to end on that, but we will follow you on your social media as well as your website. Once again, give them a website where they can find out more about you. And also we'll have the links on the website for the book.
So rickeller.net. I spell my name R-I-C, but no matter how you spell it, R-I-C or R-I-C-K, .net, it'll come to there. So please go on .net, not .com.
All right. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. And thank you for writing this book. It's wonderful. And I'm going to go back to dog earing some more pages. And I'd love to have you on again. Let's talk about mentors next time, because you do mention that in the book. And that's a one I think that you can get into for like a long discussion on the best way to find a mentor and how they organically pop up in your life, and to once again go for that when that opens up, because I have a group of mentors that I refer to as my tribe, because we all have special skill sets that we bounce off of each other all the time.
1,000%. It's been a joy, and I'll come on anytime you want me on. Love it.
Thank you, Rick. We appreciate it. And thanks for the personal autograph. I love that. I even on social media, I'm like, check it out. I'm legit. It's not just lady read my book. Thank you so much, Rick.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Have fun and at your alma mater. Enjoy.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
An Odyssey station.